If New York elects that Zohran Mamdani guy, good luck. New York will be turned into a mosque.
He seemed like such a walking contradiction to me.
Exactly.
Because he talks the language of the far left when it comes to things like abortion, sex, homosexuality, which are anathema to most Muslims. He's doing that, and at the same time,
Exactly.
is he a practicing Muslim?
In Islam, they have a teaching called Taqiyya. Taqiyya is where you're allowed to lie for the sake of spreading Islam. When I look at Zohran Mamdani going in the street, acting like an American kind of one day and then acting like a Muslim one day, eating with his hand one day and then wearing a suit like he's westernized, I look at this guy and I'm like, I think he's practicing Taqiyya. Muhammad commands you, you can lie for the sake of spreading Islam. Zohran Mamdani, when he says, I love the trans community, I want to fund them, he's either practicing Taqiyya because under Islam, transgenders and homosexuals must be executed, or he's not a Muslim. One of them. And I would love for him to be very clear.
Or is he a cafeteria Muslim? They talk about like cafeteria Catholics where they say, I'm a Catholic. And it's like, well, you go to mass, but you don't live the teachings of the faith. But you think that your suspicion, based on your experience living in Egypt and growing up in Egypt, is that it's something more sinister than that.
It's either he's a very lukewarm or not a Muslim at all, or he's practicing Taqiyya. If he is practicing Taqiyya and New York votes this guy in, good luck. New York will be turned into a mosque. People will be praying in the street. And it's happening right now, by the way. New York is already, the Muslims are praying loud and proud in the streets. If he is practicing Taqiyya, you need to vote this guy out.
I think either way we should vote him out.
100%. Vote him out.
All right. Walking contradiction is what they say. But is he? We're going to get into it all, folks. This is Christian Conservative, your trusted source for bold, unfiltered news and analysis on the issues that matter most to Christian conservatives. I'm KJ, along with Michelle Talkington. How are you doing tonight, Michelle?
Hey, I'm doing great, KJ. Good to see you and everybody in the chat. I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say. Elections are less than 2 weeks away and really contested hot seats. New York, New Jersey, Virginia. Man, we all need to be paying attention.
Absolutely. So much to talk about with the elections, as you mentioned, who's running and how these elections, what matters to Christian conservatives. Folks, we're getting into it all from faith and family to politics and culture. We tackle the hard truths and stand firm on biblical principles. Join us as we expose the lies, defend our values, and fight for the truth in a world that desperately needs it. All right. So we got so many people already in the chat. Folks, that is super chats are the best way to get your voice heard in the conversation, and we appreciate your support. Also, as you all come in, hit that like button. It helps to tell YouTube more people need to see this video. So hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Definitely, we're building a movement here of Christian conservatives, and we need as many people on the front lines as possible. All right. So let's get into this. That opening clip was groundbreaking. Now, Michelle, had you heard of this Taqiyya before in Islam?
No, actually, It's not something that I researched. I would have called it other things with similar concepts, but I never heard that term until now.
Yeah. Neither had I. And basically for you guys in the audience who are, wanting to know more about it. So in Islamic history, Taqiyya meant hiding your faith under persecution. So it's sort of a survival tactic. But today, many use the term to describe a kind of political doublespeak when someone presents one face in public and another in private. And so there are rumors that this is what Zohran Mamdani is doing. What are your thoughts on it, Michelle?
It makes sense. It could be one of two things, and the clip was so right on point. Unfortunately, I wish it was better timing. I wish this had been exposed 2 months ago, so maybe 3 months ago, because the momentum that was built for Mamdani is just disturbing, to say the least. But yeah, I've said it before over and over again that he's just two-faced. He's a chameleon. He's playing both sides. We see that he has ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. We see where money's coming in to support him. Look at his family, from his mom to his dad. I mean, he's Hindu one day, he's Muslim another. He's for everybody. We know he's anti-Semitic, though he comes out and apologizes for some of the things he says, but he'll never condemn Hamas. So the man is all over the place, but the one place he's not is right. The one place he is not is in support of Americans. He does not support our Constitution, and every policy, if you can call it policy, he suggested, is not constitutional. Ultimately, his promises will fail because they can't succeed because, again, they don't follow along with the laws that are already in the land. But that's not what he's getting at. Isn't it amazing that this man, if this is what he's following, this Taqiyya, if that's what he's doing, then we're about to let somebody who will not condemn Hamas and openly is for socialism, but ultimately is a communist. We are letting him run one of the largest cities, if not the largest city in the United States of America. The businesses that he's going to have his hands all over or try to destroy, frankly, because they're going to run away. I cannot believe that this is happening. And we're just sitting back. We can't do anything because we're not New York. You and I, we can't vote in New York, but my gosh.
Yeah, I'm surprised. And we have a super sticker here, Red Bucks, with the $5 super sticker already starting off. Thank you so much for your support. Yeah, I mean, it's really shocking, particularly that I believe New York City, if not the largest, definitely top 3 large countries or areas in the United States for Jewish people. For he to be able to get elected is just, it's really sad. It's sad and it's mind-boggling to me. But now Islamic scholars, or I should say mainstream Islamic scholars, they sort of have a different take on this Taqiyya. So they reject the expanded meaning of it, emphasizing that Taqiyya historically referred only to life and death circumstances. So it's not a license for dishonesty, what mainstream Islamic scholars are saying. Either way, it's definitely this guy who claims to be Muslim is a direct contradiction to what we know that the Islamic faith preaches: anti-transgender, anti-LGBT. They believe in gender roles and so on and so forth. And even if we take what the mainstream Islamic scholars are saying, that it's only, this lying is only to be used in life or death circumstances, it's still a big contradiction to the Bible. So, and Bible believers. So we as Christians, we're told to openly confess and public witness, our belief in Jesus as Lord. And we're not supposed to deny him, whether it's under persecution or whatsoever. Romans 10:9 says, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. And we are not called to bow or hide under persecution. John 8:32, you shall know the truth and the truth shall make you free. So it's a really big difference. Even if it is, they're saying it's only under persecution.
Yeah. But again, this vote is happening in New York City.
Right.
So let's just look at the historically, how many current New York voters are professed Christians or practicing Christians. And we know that the majority of the voters that are coming out and supporting Mamdani are far left, socialists, or a part of that younger generation, the 35 and unders. And he has this appeal that's the TikTok, Instagram. It's an appeal to youth. It doesn't matter what his messaging is, apparently, because his messaging is awful. But we've created the society of handouts, of free free. We're going to give this to you. We're going to give this entitlement, right? And it's reckless entitlement. We have created reckless entitlement where people believe, and yes, it's expensive. I don't like it. There are things that can be done and haven't, but this is the United States of America. You have options, and not everybody's going to be able to afford to live in every city. There are going to be times you have to put your big boy, underwear on, your boots on, and you might have to leave. You might have to pick up a second job. You might have to do that, but no, we are addicted to having the government or somebody else come in and save us and rescue us because we feel we deserve it. So you've got young people who, you're right, we can't afford a lot of things. I've got 6 kids and 2 of them are adults right now. They cannot be on their own, or they're struggling because of the housing market, because everything's expensive in Maryland. We get it. That does not mean that you bring somebody in who openly says, I'm going to rob from the rich and give to the poor. And he's not even giving to the really poor, and he's not poor himself. He's a fake Robin Hood. A fake Robin Hood. He's a poser whose parents have money. And he's never had to work a hard job. He's never going to understand it. It's just dangerous territory. But there's not enough of people of faith that are pushing back in this race. And there's definitely not enough who are going to be voting. That's the major problem. It's the voters.
Right. We have a super chatter here. Kung Fu CJ with the $5 super chat says, to God be the glory. Ladies, hello, my church family. Hello. Thank you so much, Kung Fu CJ, for your continued support. We really appreciate you. All right. I totally agree, Michelle. And, this guy, whether he says one thing today, we know that his roots are thoroughly planted in communism. This is a take from his dad, slamming America. This is clip 4. Take a look.
America is the genesis of what we call settler colonialism. And the American model was exported all around the world. Abraham Lincoln generalized the solution of reservations. They herded American Indians into separate territories. For the Nazis, this was the inspiration. Hitler realized 2 things. One, that genocide was doable. It is possible to do genocide. That's what Hitler realized. Second thing Hitler realized is that you don't have to have a common citizenship. You can differentiate between people. The Nuremberg laws were patterned after American laws. Anyway, the US put Indians in reservations. The US invented the model.
Wow. All right. So a lot to unpack there. Michelle, what are your first reaction or response to what he said?
I mean, apart from being upset, I'm just upset that he's even, this is just speaking for itself. I really wish that, again, all of this stuff was exposed sooner. He is wrong. Hitler did not say, let me just go over and study the United States.
That's right.
Imply that. Let me go back and see what Abraham Lincoln did. I don't think that was on his mind at the time. So he's just drawing parallels where he thinks that he can find them. And if he can find that where maybe Hitler wrote that, so be it. Okay. If he can find that, I'd love to see the evidence. But that's an interesting way to tie in the United States. And again, to call us wicked and being a root of evil, it goes back to yada, yada, yada for me. What makes me angry is that it's in our face.
Mm-hmm.
They are in our face saying we openly don't like you. And here he is. And by the way, my son's going to be running one of your most important cities in this nation that we don't like.
Right. Right. It makes zero sense. And let's talk about history, okay? Because he just went through a distorted historical context. First of all, we know that the Declaration of Independence begins with an affirmation of God-given rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yes, yeah. So that alone, that little phrase alone refutes the notion of genocide as a national principle. Now, we all know America is not perfect and its founding was imperfect, but the ideals written into the DNA were life affirming. The belief that human beings are created equal and endowed by their creator with inalienable rights. This stuff matters. And so for him to go off saying this, it's not a accurate historical record. It really isn't.
No, and you know what's really pathetic about this that people were listening to and they like to believe it because, you know, we've bought into this America bad nonsense is the fact that he's talking about a nation that's going to celebrate 250 years next year. We're talking about a baby nation. Even if we go back and we yell and scream 400 years of slavery compared to Islam, and it surpassed our years of slavery by hundreds and hundreds. I mean, come on. Let's go back and see what Islam did. We've talked about the Crusades here on this podcast multiple times. So you want to go back, there's plenty of Muslim nations that we can discuss. And we can go back even before that and talk about nations that tried and accomplished the exact same thing. And this is happening in other nations as we speak. So it's just laughable, but it shows the lack of understanding and the lack of history that we have. And we know what God says, that my people, what do? They perish for lack of knowledge. And it's not just the lack of knowledge of God, but the lack of knowledge of your own history, the lack of knowledge of what has happened in the world time and time again. And the word also says there is no new thing under the sun. There are patterns that happen. This is just another pattern. But again, it's in your face. He's in your face. And he essentially, that's why I'm just stunned that he's telling us we are stupid. We don't know our history. We're also evil. And again, by the way, my son's going to be leading your land to its doom, to its ultimate destruction. With a smile, a plastered on smile that is so deceptive. Like him and Gavin Newsom need to ride off into the sunset somewhere.
I know. Exactly. And again, as you mentioned, why is he here? Again, this nation is a Judeo-Christian nation, so it's not his religion. He doesn't agree with the founding, with the principles, with the history. Why is he here? It's clear he's here to somehow take advantage, to use our principles, our laws against us. Okay. And so this is why we, as God-fearing Christian conservatives, people who love this country, need to stand up against this. Now, I want to make it clear. No honest person denies that there have been grave sins in America's past. Slavery, segregation, the mistreatment of Native Americans. But the mark of a moral nation is not perfection, it's repentance. This is what we know as Bible believers. Yeah. It's repentance and correction. And we fought for that. We fought for civil rights. We fought for it. Abolitionists like the great Frederick Douglass. And Christians stood hand in hand in the battlefields. Many lost their lives fighting for equality. So where does this guy get off calling us a genocidal nation? No, we can't let that go. We can't. So
No, yeah. and they need our downfall again because we're a capitalist nation. Capitalist nations are dangerous.
Right.
Capitalism is dangerous because it allows people to actually create and build and think for themselves, right? Most capitalists and those who love free enterprise, they want to come up with something new. They want to be able to practice whatever religion they want. And so we have a nation that's kind of structured around not only our First Amendment, right? Freedom of speech. We get to practice whatever religion we want, which is great. Of course, we here, Christian conservative, believe in Christianity. We're going to hold to that. But here in the United States, you can come over. You could be Muslim. You could be radical in your mindset. Go for it. But what you can't do is force us to agree with you. You can't force us to believe what you believe. You can't force us into communism. So this is what they're doing. They're sneaking it in. They're not forcing us to. They're sneaking it in. They're building this platform one person at a time. And they're coming in all shapes, sizes, and colors, but they're coming with that same smile, that same serpent's tongue that is lying and deceiving. And they're using, unfortunately, the left. They come and they go after a group that is easily fooled, easily deceived. And that's why I think it's important for like this podcast, what we're saying, the one that we saw before, it's important that we speak out because this is deception. And it's not even well disguised. His disguise is horrible. Did you see him? If you saw him in the last debate, please tell us what you think. And if you did not, I encourage you to go back and watch it, because unfortunately, Cuomo, who I do not agree with, was right. He's never had a job. He's never had to really ultimately work for anything. Even in his political positions, he's done nothing. He is a pawn. He is a pawn, and if we're not careful, we are setting ourselves up for checkmate.
Right. You're absolutely right, Michelle. We have a super chatter here. Kung Fu CJ says, Abe Lincoln said the only way America will be conquered is from within.
Yes.
Absolutely. And he's so right. And that has been the communist agenda for many, many decades. They have been trying to infiltrate the United States from within. And unfortunately, it looks like they have done that. And not only that, but they have been trying to delegitimize our institutions. They've been trying to get us as Americans to lose trust in our institutions. And when it's all a psychological warfare. This is what it is. You know, and a spiritual attack. You got to go. We talk about it biblically here. It's a spiritual attack as well, designed to make the next generation hate their country. This is what it is. And this is why we got to fight back, folks. As you all come in, please hit that like button. It really helps to get this video out in front of a wider audience, and subscribe. Join us. This is key. We need more fighting warriors on the front lines, Christian warriors, people who love this country. So please join us by hitting that subscribe button. All right. So speaking of these, you mentioned them already, Michelle, Gavin Newsom, California's golden boy, as they call him, just hit a new low on a recent NBA podcast, pandering like a chameleon to Black hosts by dropping his posh accent for some fake ghetto vernacular and implying he grew up poor. Take a look at this next clip. This is clip 1.
Classic.
Yeah.
But also, you know, it was also about paying the bills, man. And it was just like hustling. And so I was out there kind of raising myself, turning on the TV, started, you know, just getting obsessed, you know, sitting there with the, you know, the Wonder Bread and 5 stacks of,
it's like the White Stack 5 story.
Come on. Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Bro. Are you talking about me?
Young YG.
YG,
But
man.
every day in the backyard, just bouncing the basketball, throwing the ball against the wall until the ball is just like fraying, man. And your arms
Entertaining
falling
yourself.
off. That's it. Whole thing. So just, and then, you know, then this student that was shitty student is in the back with his head down, all of a sudden started throwing the baseball a little faster than everyone else and started, you know, make a few free throws because I was sitting there practicing 500 of them every damn night. And in high school, I look up in the stands, my dad's back up there.
Okay, dope.
And it's like, man, and then he's bringing his friends and you're captain of the team and you're like, geez, you know, and it just saved me and it got me into college.
Gosh. And everyone there just sopping it up. Lies. Michelle.
I wish I raised myself the way he raised himself and cried into my silk and satin pillows. He wouldn't know what it was to raise himself. And the fact that he was throwing, at one point I was laughing. I was like, is this gang signs? Because he's throwing the ball up against what's he throwing up gang signs? And y'all, I'm from California, so Riverside County, Southern California. Please, Gavin, please. And he had to bring up basketball. He could have said anything. No. Most likely, he was probably playing polo for all we know. But he had to throw it. There was basketball. He's out there with the basket and just throwing it over and over. Stacks. Y'all, stacks of Wonder Bread. Who does that? I didn't even do that, and we were poor. We did not put stacks and stacks of Wonder Bread together, though we may have had a syrup sandwich. Some people know what that is, but no.
Well, they had to cut the part of the interview where he said in one hand he was throwing basketballs, while in the other he was eating a bucket of fried chicken with a bowl of watermelon underneath of him.
Oh my gosh. If we don't realize that this man is an actor, and frankly, what he's done to California, he's made it number one on the worst taxes, of the worst school, the worst education, the worst gas prices, the worst grocery price. It's number one for being the worst under his leadership. Like number one for the most people leaving and running away. Number one for the most businesses fleeing. So yeah, Gavin's number one. He's a superstar. He can destroy one of the wealthiest states in the United States of America in 4 years, guys. He's talented. So that's what I'm worried about. And you have those, like you said, those clowns in that talk, just buying into it, just laughing with him. Oh yeah, you sound like us. No, since when?
No. Since when? And no follow-up questions, nothing, to say, hey, man, what are you talking about? You grew up pretty well off. And he did. So he implied he had humble beginnings, but he grew up in luxury. His dad was a judge. He's got family ties to the Getty oil fortune. He attended elite schools. I mean, we have I think we have photos. Let me see here.
Oh, pretty boy Newsom. I just don't understand, and why people buy into that, and why people are still on his side. It is just what a sick game that he plays. And again, it's that smile, it's that deception, it is that evil. I mean, Satan's been doing it for a long time, and there it is. Oh no, that's his gang. That's his.
Yeah, that's him though. That's him in the 90s. He looks really poor, guys. I mean, that guy, wow. I don't know how he's able to he looks frail. He looks so gaunt. He looks just hand-me-downs. And the guys next to him, woo, they look like those guys look like they were straight out of what do you call it? Fat Albert's. That looks like Fat Albert's gang right there.
Well, that's because of all the Wonder Bread sandwiches he had stacked, so that so he was eating healthy. It was all that carbs that he was piling on.
Angie said, which is him. Let me see him. Let me put it back up here. He was the one in the center.
Plays ball. That's great, but that's the only thing he.
Yeah, he was the one in the gray shirt and the red tie. Yeah. I mean, this is ridiculous. Let me see here. How do I move this? Yeah. Oh, you're breaking up, Michelle. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's regret. But the thing that really upsets me is the response by the hosts. While real poor folks were grinding or are still grinding, this guy was sipping wine from his plump Jack Empire. And so for him to lie like this, and the guys he's talking to, they grew up in poverty. They were, were talented basketball players and were able to, get picked up due to their talent. But instead of them calling this guy out for the fraud that he is, they laugh and joke and cook it up. I think we is that my connection? Oh, you're frozen, Michelle. Yeah, I think we're having some technical difficulties here, but we do have a super chatter. Let me get that super chatter. All right, so let's see here. We got a super sticker from Gloria Beardsley. Thank you so much for your $10 super chat. We appreciate you. All right. Let me see here. I think, all right, Michelle has a technical difficulty. She'll be right back. Yes, but I mean, and they just continue to just laugh and just, continue to encourage this guy to lie. And it's really frustrating. It really is. But this is the Democrat playbook. This is what they do. They go on to these urban audiences, these urban shows, and instead of talking about their policies and their agenda, they feel as though they have to provide this, cosplay and come on and try to sort of misrepresent themselves. And the reason why they do that is because These communities do not demand solutions from them. They do not hold them accountable. And so this is why we can continue to get people like Gavin Newsom, doing this thing where he's the poor guy. I think Michelle's back. Michelle,
hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay.
Sometimes, guys, in this office, we get thunderstorms and stuff shuts out, but I'm glad I'm back in.
No, yes, so am I. You didn't miss much. We were just again talking about why are leftists and Democrats like Gavin Newsom able to do this, to go on here and lie about their background, to go on and push this fake vernacular, this fake talking, fake talk and hand jobs and stuff, trying to sort of, I guess, play like, intimidate, not intimidate, but imitate the black people. Why is this working? Or is it working?
Well, it's working. Kamala was out there,
Right.
washing collard greens in her bathtub.
Right.
So it works. But let's just be honest. Democrats have gotten away with lying for a very long time about anything. It's anything and they need they need the black vote. They need the poor vote. They need any subgroup that they want to categorize, they need that. And so they're going to blend in as best they can. And there's just not going to be enough media to push back on it. So they're going to allow it to happen. Good smile. I know when I go out to different groups, I might look different to every group or might sound different, but my policies are the same. Who I am is the same. He doesn't know who he is. The politicians they run, they don't even have an identity. Their identity is whatever the party tells them that they are. Now, that can happen with Republicans, but by and large, the media is real quick to call them out and expose them. Why aren't we getting the exposure? Why aren't they being exposed for what they are? Why aren't they getting exposed for the lie? Why aren't they getting called out when somebody like Obama says, that the brothers need to support a black woman and yada, 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 and Biden, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. Why aren't we exposing it more? Why aren't we questioning that? That's more my issue, not that they're posers and they're out there faking whatever culture they are never a part of. As opposed to maybe me, who I'm always, guys, when you're out there, I will sound, I have a lot of family members. You will hear me sound and run into all of a sudden. I've seen it in the comments that, Michelle's sounding Latina again, or Michelle's sounding something else again. Yeah, because my family's mixed. So that's different. Gavin didn't have that experience. I'm pretty sure he wasn't multicultural. He's just multi-disgusting. And he just likes to destroy. And the fact that he's, just planning to run for the presidency, he's got to do his best to win over everybody with whatever lie he can.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you brought up a very good point. Liberals like him use these race baiting tactics to distract from their failures. And as you mentioned, sky high crime, homelessness, all of that's in California, all under his watch. And so, it's within the Democrat playbook to divide us by race, to erode truth and push their godless policies like abortion, extremism, and this whole gender confusion. That's all he really has. That's all he has. But he's not done, folks, because he recently was on, I believe it was either CBS or ABC, and he's talking about how he plans on running for president, folks, in 2028. So we haven't gotten nearly enough of him yet. He's going to be out there. And unfortunately, I think he has a chance. This is clip 2. Take a look.
You're not afraid to go into red states.
No.
When I saw you slinging shots behind the coffee bar, I thought this guy might run for president.
I have no idea. The idea that a guy who got 960 on his SAT that still struggles to read scripts, that was always in the back of the classroom, the idea that you even throw that out is in and of itself extraordinary. Who the hell knows? I'm looking forward to who presents themselves in 2028. And who meets that moment? And that's the question for the American people.
Is it fair to say after the 2026 midterms, you're going to give it serious thought?
Yeah, I'd be lying otherwise. I'd just be lying. And I can't do that.
Governor, you have long said that if you ever run for the White House, you need a compelling why, a reason. Are you moving closer to figuring out your own why and your own decision?
Yeah, Nietzsche said, if you have a compelling why, you can endure any how. And so I think the biggest challenge for anyone who runs for any office is people see right through you if you don't have that why. You're doing it for the wrong reasons. And so, that fate will determine that.
You certainly seem to like being on the ground in South Carolina, I have to say that. Seeing you up close, you were having a good time.
I happen to, and thank God, I'm in the right business. I love people. I actually love people.
Oh my God.
Wow.
This guy, let me tell you something. If he's eyeing the White House in 2028, his strategy is going to be fool minorities, fool the black folk, while taxing Christians to fund his radicalism. That's what it's going to be about. So if people are dumb enough to vote for him, then unfortunately they get what we get.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
It's so easy to see through. You can be blind. You don't have to look at him and his hairspray and gel, and you can actually just close your eyes and listen to the man lie. Of course, in that clip, he said, "I can't lie." He's like, "Well, I'd be lying, and I can't do that." And it's about people. He loves the people. He loves them so much that he chases him out of his state by the thousands, guys. That's how much he loves people. I take that back. He loves people that are not American citizens. He does not support American citizens. He does love illegal immigration. I will give that to him. He loves supporting people on American dollars, dimes that did not come here the right way. That's what he loves. An unsecure border. He loves destruction. He's okay with that. But they're going to pair him up with somebody like Wes Moore here in Maryland. They're going to make a pretty little couple that sounds great, that looks great on paper, and lies, so that they can get in and, again, ultimately undermine the Constitution. And they do that every time they talk about how important democracy is. Every time I hear that coming out of their mouths, I'm saying, yeah, you really do want democracy. You want the majority rules no matter what. What you don't want, it's the Constitution. What you don't want is a constitutional republic. We know that. We hear that. But just on the Christian side, the things that he has done and others is destructive to the soul of the nation. It does not help Christians. Their policies do not support Christianity. In fact, the Democratic Party policies, if you guys look at their framework right now and the things you can and can't say, I know in the state of Maryland, there's things you cannot say here that refer to Christianity, that refer to God if you are in a legislative session here in the state of Maryland. They are not pro-God. So we've got to be paying attention to that when we let these kind of just serpent tongues come in here and take over, because they smile well, because they present well. And, we do that in the churches too. A lot of people present well, but the intentions are nothing but evil.
Right. You're absolutely right. We got Pastor Damon with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Hey, Pastor Damon. He says, lying and deception are the weapons of the Democrats, and their policy is simple: destroy our freedoms and our republic. Absolutely.
There you go.
He said it. Yeah. Perfectly well done. And does anybody else? I mean, I know I've said this before. Every time I see Gavin Newsom, he reminds me of a snake. Like he's got that slope back, and he's got that like that slippery talk, and he just looks slippery and sneaky and like a slithering snake. When I saw him up there, I just want to start playing an oboe or some clarinet, and I think I would see him start rising up like some type of what's the snake that
cobra.
Yeah, a cobra. Yeah. He reminds me of the alien snakes in V. That's what he reminds me of. Ugh. I don't see how anybody can vote for him. I really don't. I
just think he's like he's a used car salesman, and the problem is he's a really good one. He sells you a lemon. California is the lemon that he's selling the nation. Mm-hmm. He's selling the nation a box of goods that is not going to make it 5 miles down the road. Right. That's what he's selling us. a broken vehicle, but he does it with a smile. He does it with, the suits. He does it with all of his background stories and all of his fake labs. And he does it because he's a chameleon, and he'll put on any suit that he needs to and sound like anybody, like his Wonder Bread basketball playing self, to get what he wants. And the Democrat Party is so lost right now that they're struggling to find anybody who can carry on who can just give us one sentence, a good one. And with people like him and the Mamdanis and Westmores, they can at least complete a sentence, as opposed to Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. So look at what they're coming from in the last administration and what they desperately need. And that's just the political side. That's not even talking about the spiritual side, because they won't even stand firm in their own faith when they proclaim it. Think about the leaders that they have right now in the Democrat Party. None of them are proud of their faith. They all backpedal on their faith. If they profess Christianity, which now we're seeing the Mamdanis of the world, and they do not. But those that do is, oh, well, I was raised such and such. Or, well, I was raised in this church. Not, I am a Christian, or I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe that he's my Lord and Savior. You will never hear them say that. You will talk about what religion or what church their parents took them to, or where they were baptized, or what their kids are getting ready to do, but never professing their faith. Watch for that as a Christian. Watch for that.
That's a good point, Michelle, because they said during Charlie Kirk's memorial service, that was the first time, I believe, since the inception of the United States, where a president and his cabinet all were confessing biblical values. They were all professing Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I think Glenn Beck said something about it on his show. It was like, it's never been done before. And I was telling someone this weekend, you guys know, I was a Democrat for most of my life. And when I became a Republican, or I became a conservative, and I went to my first Trump rally, that was the first time I had ever been to a political event where so many people were professing their faith. There were people, breaking out in prayer and talking about Christ and the Bible. And it was wonderful. And I'd never seen anything like that before. Well, that's because in the Republican Party, on the conservative side, we're not afraid to talk about our faith, our values, our biblical values. But that is unheard of in the Democrat Party, unless they're doing it to some way to distort things, to distort the Bible. And it's really sad, but this is their playbook. And then again, they lie and they pander. But if Gavin Newsom's fake ghetto act to pander to Black hosts wasn't enough to boil your blood, hold on to your Bibles, because the hypocrisy doesn't stop there. We got to talk about this Virginia gubernatorial election, and it's heating up, folks. And the NAACP is rolling out the red carpet for Abigail Spanberger, the white liberal. Okay, so cozying up to her radical agenda while turning their backs on strong Black conservative Winsome Earl Sears. Isn't that hypocritical? Or what is it, Michelle?
I mean, you'd like to think that, but no. And again, the NAACP, I think, has just gone past their prime. They had a purpose when they started. We all understand that. And then they didn't know what to do. So when is the last time you've seen the NAACP actually go out and help communities by doing like Habitat for Humanity style building of homes? Wow. I participated. I'm like, when have you seen them do that? When have you seen them just build up shelters? Because they get money in, and they have so many people with so many different missions in there. So when have you seen the NAACP actually even help the Black community that they're supposed to be fighting for? They're the voice, they're the loud voice, but where are they hands-on at this point? So I think they're so far beyond their mission, but again, they've got the Al Sharptons running things, and I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. And I've been to some of their, NAACP, they've had debates, and it's just a great big social club with people that don't want to stand on their own 2 feet and have an objective opinion anymore. Because if you ever go into an NAACP meeting and say something wrong, say something that they perceive to be, too conservative now, they're going to come right after you, and they don't care what color you are. So it ends up being just an elitist crowd, and I'm not surprised. And I've seen their arguments. If you guys have seen what they're getting some heat for this as well, they should be. But Winsome Sears is an amazing qualified candidate.
Right.
They should have sat this one out. They should have just shut up. They should have said nothing. They should have said, we're just going to let this play out and let the best candidate win. We're just so happy that two strong women are in this fight. They could have left it at that. No, they had to go ahead and endorse and get all in there with the pictures. This is great, guys. This is great. And in 2 seconds, they're going to talk about how much they can't stand white women.
Right. That's so crazy. Here you have a historical moment. Now, again, I am actually not advocating for supporting someone based off of their race. However, that is the main component of the NAACP. Every time you hear someone from there talking about something, it's black this, black that, national advancement of colored people is the name. And so they always talk about, they want to support black people. Well, here you have a historic moment for, a possibility of the first black governor of a state, right? I think she would be the first black female governor. And they're supporting her opposition. They're supporting her opposition, folks. I mean, if a civil rights organization claims to uplift historically disadvantaged communities, but appears to side with candidates and policies that reflect those that don't reflect those community values, isn't that inconsistent? This is crazy.
But they've been inconsistent for a long time.
Right.
Let's just be honest. They've been inconsistent for a very long time. And like I said, the Jesse Jacksons, the Al Sharptons of the world, everybody gets up there on their pulpit and they want to fight like it's the 1950s, 1940s, 1960s again. And it just isn't. And it's a shame that they even got in this the way that they're doing, because it is for making historical change, but they've lost it. They've lost it in the same group that was all in for Kamala Harris for the same reason, not because of her merit, not because of her qualifications, because again, she couldn't care. Her word salads were phenomenal. You couldn't understand anything she was saying. And she wasn't ultimately going to advance anything that could be considered pro-Black community. I mean, apart from government handouts, that's the only thing she had to offer, and not even the understanding of how to do it. But here we have Winsome Sears, who actually has policies that are ready to continue to grow Virginia's economy, to continue to help people. And they don't want her because, like you and I know, KJ, being conservatives, me being Republican female candidate, I'm not the right Black. I'm not the right one.
Right.
I don't sound right because I don't fall in line. It's okay until we have one disagreement. It's okay until I don't go along to get along. And I'm not going to. I'm just not, and neither is she. If you know anything about Winsome, she is not going to go along just to get along. That's not happening with her. I think she's too strong of a candidate, and she's going to do phenomenal things. But how sad is this? This is just sad. It says more about the NAACP. This is all we need to know, folks.
Yeah, and I was debating someone about this over the weekend. We're going to post this on Poppin' Politics. But, I was talking to a friend who, is, I would probably I would say he's a Black supremacist. He believes in, having, Black people owning their own stuff, having their own communities, supporting one another. He does that. And he was, and I was sort of pushing back against it because because he's for, the idea of Black American. And so I was like, well, why can't we just be Americans? And we were, having a heated debate, but friendly and respectful debate about that. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. So you have an organization like the NAACP who have put up and supported Black people with only one agenda for decades. Okay. They are behind, the outcomes in cities all over America. And we see the result of that. They're failing. The education systems are failing. And these are areas that have been run by Black people with only one agenda. And so where has that gotten us? Nowhere. So I say this again, that you can't do that. I mean, it doesn't work to continue to support an organization just because of the color of your skin, and they are not, their solutions, their agenda is not helpful for the community. You just can't do it.
No, so, I mean, we shouldn't.
Right.
We shouldn't, but there's this buy-in. Somehow we've convinced, tens of thousands of people that that's exactly what you should do. But the Democrat Party has been genius in that.
Right. Yeah.
And
taking it back to scripture, when they're not godly, they're not a biblical, traditional biblical values institution either. And when institutions claim to walk with God's people, yet side with ideologies that undermine biblical values, we got to ask, are we being faithful to the kingdom or to the culture? Okay. And if it's the latter, then that's not good. That's not what we're called to do.
Yeah, it's culture. And in this case, it's chaos. And we're seeing that play out. We're buying into chaos. We're buying into confusion. We're buying into division. It is ungodly. What they're doing in these races is ungodly. You can see it in the attacks. You can see it when you have a Spanberger who will not condemn violence and will not condemn the man running for the attorney's position, who was okay with threatening and just jovial about the death of children. I mean, they will not condemn evil in any form. It's obvious, it's clear, the debate was clear. They won't even condemn pure evil. So why are we surprised? And then we have the NAACP supporting a character, somebody whose moral character lines up with somebody who plots all evil and will not just condemn basic bad. It's like you can just say it's bad. It was horrible. I condemn it. I can't endorse him. No, they're all in. They're all in. That should be enough for us as Christians. But you know what? Voter turnout has been really bad. We have no one really to blame but ourselves as Americans. And I will say that as a constitutional conservative, that it used to be excited about exercising our rights to vote. And then they turned voting into an all day, all month, all week, all year long thing. They've turned it into something it was never intended to, and especially during COVID. So I think we kind of lost that enthusiasm, that excitement. People just started saying, I'm not going to do it. It doesn't matter anyways. And we've seen the results where we get these races that are lost by a couple of thousand in a turnout that was only 30%.
Right. And remember, we have a super chatter here. Pastor Damon with the $5 super chat. Says Blackism is their religion. Democrat is their God. Therefore, Blacks until the Democrat God says no, because that person, Black, is a Republican. Yep, he's right. You hit it right on there, Pastor Damon. Folks, Pastor Damon. He's on here quite often. And you can check him out on his YouTube channel at Celebrating New Beginnings on YouTube. Check him out. He's fiery. Man of God and a patriot, America loving patriot. So definitely check him out. But I totally agree there. And we have to continue to push back. One last thing on this. Remember President Obama when Kamala Harris was running, and he chastised Black men for not voting for her.
Yeah.
Remember that. But here we have a Black woman in Winsome Sears, and she's Republican, but she's a Black woman. No chastising here. He's out supporting Abigail Spanberger. So, I mean, this is just, it's terrible. It really is.
They've done the same thing in the races in North Carolina, the last election cycle. They do it over and over again, but we need to really start making billboards of this to say, remember when. Right. So this is that. Remember when the NAACP supported the most liberal woman that they could and fought against the woman that stood for godliness, that stood for the Constitution, that fought in our military, the best version of it. She is the ultimate American. And they're fighting not only against her, but they're fighting against it and using race.
Wow.
We need to remember that when the time comes to continue to vote, when it's our chance in our states. Let that be a lesson to all of us. Don't be fooled. And Satan is great at fooling us over and over again. And there are a lot of people that want to be fooled. And that's what we're seeing. Tons of people that want to be fooled. And that's unfortunate, but that's happening. End times coming, I'm serious. I don't care when the end comes, but when it comes, so many will be deceived. So all we're seeing right now is glimpses of how easy it is to be deceived by the masses, how easy it is for somebody who professes one thing to be another. And a whole organization who professes that their works are for one thing and then turns its back and does the opposite.
You're
so
right,
be warned.
And speaking of that, talking about someone who professes one thing and does the total opposite, here, not only that, but also pushes policies that he claims are going to help our community, but they really don't, is the Chicago mayor, Mayor Johnson. Take a look at this clip. He's calling for a strike, a working people's strike against President Trump. This is clip 7.
What would a successful strike look like to you?
Well, first of all, if there was ever a time for working people to unite across our country, this is that time. I'm reminded of the words of Dr. King when he said that if the labor rights movement and the civil rights movement were to ever collide, what enormous potential we would have. And we're in the midst of that right now. What it means is that working people across this country have to send a real strong message to the ultra rich and to these large corporations who have received, one of the greatest tax cuts and benefits than any other time in the history of our country. And if we're not willing to put forth some real economic demands, if that means, of course, withholding our labor, if we're not prepared to do that, then I don't see how we can transform this country. Every single major social movement throughout our history had a full strategy, whether it was litigation, the courts, and also economic boycott, particularly at a time in which the concentration of wealth continues to grow while more and more people continue to barely have the ends meeting at the end of each week and at the end of each month.
What would a successful strike look like to you?
Well, first of all, if there was ever a time for working people to unite across our country, this is that time. I'm reminded of the words of Dr. King when he said that if the labor rights...
Wow.
Okay. Can you believe this guy?
That man, what a moron. That man makes no sense whatsoever, especially because he talks about, the people that can't have ends meeting and, making ends meet. Yeah, get it? He probably should brush up on that. But he talks about that in the same breath says we need a workman's strike so that they can't eat, so that they can't put food on the table. It may not be steak, but it's going to be, hamburger helpers. So you're telling them to stop working with the assumption that employers are going to keep them, with the assumption that there's this great big mass union of all working class people that can just leave their jobs until what? To what end? To what means? And he's so stupid because what he doesn't understand is he is trying to act like it's big businesses that are going to hurt. And do you understand the classification of a big business? Most businesses fall under small business, under 500 employees, which I also think is something that needs to be changed. But a lot of the businesses running these cities have 100 employees, maybe 200. And that would be considered for me a big business. I am a small business owner.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going to happen to those businesses? We are going to shutter. We won't even have a business to bring those people back to with his grand plans, his grandiose idea. But this is what happens when you put dumb people in office. He is a prime example. Just when we thought it couldn't get any worse for Chicago, he showed up, Mayor Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. He needs to be voted out. And what's interesting is he has this platform, but if you see any of the other reels, you'll see almost every single time he has some type of hearing or public speaking engagement, the people are actually against him. The people of Chicago can't stand him. And that's why they're out there and they're trying to turn Chicago red. He's just clearly uneducated in the field of economics. I don't know how he's in charge of anything right now. And what a foolish idea. How dare.
Yeah. And here's another part, because we had another clip here that was the second half of that, where he's well, take a look here. I want you to see this. Just let me know if you can hear it. Oh.
Authoritarianism like we've never seen it in modern history. So I do get the frustration, the question of whether or not it'll work. The reason why I'm saying that workers have to unite in this moment is because it can't just be a legal battle. It can't just be through executive authority. We have to take it to the streets in the neighborhoods to send a very clear message to the authoritarianism that's being promulgated throughout this country, that we will use our economic prowess to beat back against these acts of tyranny, because we're all impacted, whether you are documented or not. They're coming for working people.
So, did you hear what he said?
Whether you were undocumented or not, guys.
How is that going to help working people here, working Americans? He is including illegals, undocumented immigrants. This makes absolutely no sense when we know that undocumented workers negatively impact Black communities, which is most of Chicago. So his call for illegal immigrants to join is a direct slap in the face to Black Chicagoans, the very community he claims to represent. I couldn't believe he said that.
Oh, Chicago, you better rise up, because did he say like economic prowess? Did he actually put that phrase together and say walk away? Don't work, don't make money, don't bring a check home, don't eat, especially in a time like right now where we have a government shutdown. What he needs to work, what he should be speaking about is tell the senators to get their behinds back and vote to keep the economy going, to pay federal workers. That's what he needs to say. But no, don't work so we can fight back against authoritarianism. What? Who? If President Trump was authoritative in any way, shape, or form, he'd be out of a job, right? Because the reality is that under real communism, under real authoritarianism, they would come in and they would remove and dispose of the leadership that didn't get along, the leadership that didn't agree. So they would make sure that all of this was squashed. So that's just proves that we're not under any kind of authoritarian nation. It's just silly. It's laughable. But the way that he speaks makes me think that somebody's telling him, I really need you to do this. You need to go out there. Like whoever got him his position is pulling strings behind him and telling him, this is what you need to say. This is what you have to do.
He's a puppet. He's a plant. He's a puppet. I mean, but I hope people are listening to him and do your research, folks. You know, illegal immigration drives down wages for low-income workers. Okay? Studies have shown this time and time again. Take a look at the Center for Immigration Studies and economists. They continue to say that massive illegal immigration reduces job opportunities and suppresses wages in industries where Black Americans are heavily represented. And he's sitting here saying we're supposed to join ranks with these people. It makes exactly no sense. But you know why? Because this is the communist power play. This is what he's doing. That burned me when I heard that.
And he's talking out of two sides of his mouth, because he's saying join forces with the working immigrants, because it doesn't matter if you're legal or illegal, and then stop working. Join forces and then stop. We want you to come all out there and then stop working, so that all of our businesses can look like the rest of Chicago with boarded up windows, so they can look like the ghetto of Chicago. They just make everything look boarded up, because that's ultimately what's going to happen. And then you want to see the rich get richer. The only businesses that are going to be able to survive are those multi-billion-dollar businesses. They're the only ones that are going to be able to set up shop, and they're not afraid of him, not one bit.
Right. And This is what I'm talking about, because, and this is where we got to talk about the biblical context of this. Okay. So this guy is out here. He's asking people to strike, not work. He's also including illegals in the mix. And he's also advocated for open borders. He's advocated for defunding the police. All of this is lawlessness. Okay. It's lawlessness, and it leads to chaos. And the Bible teaches us that the worker deserves his wages, but also teaches law, order, and justice. And there's a difference between righteous labor advocacy and lawless rebellion. And we know that God is not the author of confusion. That is in 1 Corinthians. But this is, or that I should say, is exactly what Marxism breeds. And this guy is a straight up Marxist. They put out confusion, envy, and destruction. He's inviting illegal immigrants to join uprisings against lawful government, against ICE agents who are just out there doing their jobs. It's stirring up chaos.
No, he's right there. That's what they want. They need this. They want their own little civil war. They're hoping that it happens. But he was a socialist candidate, and we knew that from the beginning. People were calling him out and saying, this man is even more progressive than, was it Lori Lightfoot, than the other mayor before him. We talked about that. And they voted him in anyway. Same thing that's happening in New York. They knew what they were getting. They voted for it. They cheered him on. He made it worse. And somehow he's still in charge, and they still have to suffer through. And really, unfortunately, I would hope that Chicago would make better choices in the future. But what we've seen for the last 50 years in these deep blue cities is they continue to just change the face of the same bad politician. The same bad policy, the same socialist, the same person who says we're going to take from the wealthy, we're going to make them, pay their fair share and give it to you. And the handouts never get to that community. In fact, what this guy does is he deliberately takes all of that and he gives it to non-citizens. So the Black community, they get, double and triple time, kind of just screwed over, for lack of a better phrase. They're getting steamrolled by people like him and Pritzker, who are all about how they're going to help poor Chicago and in the name of the poor Black areas. And then let me give all of these benefits to illegal immigrants.
Right.
And to our buddies.
And the numbers don't lie, folks.
No.
The numbers don't lie. Chicago's unemployment rate among Black youth is already double the city average. Wow. Every illegal worker who takes off, or I should say takes a job off the books or drives down the wage hurts Black families first. That the data is clear. It's clear on this stuff. And he's out here pushing it. This is not helpful. It is not. So this is why we are calling it out, folks. We're calling this agenda, this progressive agenda. It's dishonest. That's not even progressive. It's Marxist.
Yeah.
Calling it inclusive is insulting. It's exploitative. And we got to continue to push out the truth, folks. We have to do it, because when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked rule, the people mourn. That is Proverbs 29:2. This is why I support people like Michelle running. We need more people like you, Michelle, in office, because we got to push back against them, get them out.
Well, I'm looking at people like him and I'm thinking, what happened when we took the 10 Commandments out of schools? And what do they promote? And what are they promoting right here and right now? Looting. So thou shalt not steal, right? Not commit adultery, not covet. They promote murder. They justify murder. They justify theft. They justify everything that is against the 10 Commandments, like one of the basic set of laws that we as Christians follow that used to be in the schools and children used to quote. But here we have leaders like this who will stand up for the worst of sins and call it good. So I'm not surprised. I'm just sad for the people, and I hope they rise up.
Right. All right, folks, as you come in, please hit that like button. We want this video to get out to as many people as possible. hit that like button. That helps to tell YouTube more people need to see this, and subscribe. Subscribe to Christian Conservative. We are here to be bold Christian conservatives and to push back against these Marxist antichrist spirits. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And speaking, just as you mentioned, Michelle, speaking of these people who continue to take up for bad policies and misinformation and people who are not for us, we got to go to Karine Jean Pierre, because she was the big mouthpiece for Biden, who definitely, his policies were not for us, not for this nation, not good for the nation at all. And so this weekend on MSNBC's The Weekend primetime, anchor Elise Jordan couldn't stomach the deception anymore. This is MSNBC pushing back against Karine Jean Pierre. She straight up confronted her about her lies. Take a look here. This is clip 3.
You were talking about the difference in being at the podium and then now in your personal capacity. The special counsel, Robert Hur, when his report came out about President Biden and the classified documents, you stood from the White House podium, February 2024, and you said that his commentary was gratuitous, that it was unacceptable, and it didn't live in reality. And clearly the American public saw another side of Joe Biden's mental acuity during the summer's debate. Robert Hur was unemployable for a period because of the attacks from the Democrats and from the White House that you were at the podium leading. Have you apologized to Robert Hur?
I mean, look, what I can say to you is I saw the president every single day. It wasn't one-offs. It wasn't once in a while. I saw him every day. He is someone that was sharp.
Have you gone back to someone who you had pretty sharp comments about, and we all saw a different reality in your personal capacity?
What I'm saying is my reality was this. My reality was somebody that I saw every single day, who was sharp, who pushed his team, was understanding very clearly of the policy of history. That is what I saw. I could only speak for what I saw on a daily basis for 2.5 years, almost 4 years, actually. And I was White House press secretary, obviously, for 2.5 years. And that is the president that I know. Someone who woke up every day and was very zeroed in and focused on how to deliver for the American people. And that's what I'm speaking to, is what I saw every day. And look, there's not many people who can say, oh, you know, they saw that. They saw somebody every day like the president of the United States and was able to speak for him. I'm able to do that. I was his White House press secretary. I was called into the Oval Office on a daily basis. I traveled with him for 95% of the time. And so I'm speaking for myself here. I'm speaking for what I saw. And that was why I pushed back. That was why I pushed back.
Well, you must be blind. Wow. She dug in, Michelle. What did you think of that exchange?
Oh, that was fantastic for me. And I was really hoping, and I hope it continues to happen. She's got her, this is what I tell you guys, these book tours, you know that they're in it for they're going to write that book right away. And they go on these tours thinking everybody's going to eat it up, and she's getting eaten alive. She's got a new look, and I think it's interesting that they've softened her up compared to what she was.
She looks pretty. I gotta give credit where credit is due. I think she looks pretty. Or there.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, she's got a softer look and sound, but boy, are they just! It's not going to work because we're reading what she's writing and saying you lied. So we knew she was lying. And if you guys pay attention to her every time she's in these interviews and she gets upset, like her eyes go on 10,000. She starts blinking 10,000 times a minute in this. I'm like, man, I'm glad she doesn't. I hope she doesn't play poker, because she's got a lot of tells on this, and she's not behind. She's not with the press the same way that she is. So she doesn't get to get away with lying and continuing to lie the way that she did when she was in charge of what the president supposedly was telling us and what he supposedly believed. But come on, 2.5 years, we could see dementia in 5-minute clips.
Right. We saw it all. She told us we couldn't believe what we were seeing because they were cheap fakes. She was lying. She was lying. Let's go back a little bit, because who is Robert Hur? So he was the guy who was the U.S. attorney and special counsel who investigated Biden's mishandling of classified documents. Remember? He put out the 2024 report, described the president as an elderly man with a poor memory. He actually went easy. He went easy on him. But he did say that his memory was off, and it sparked all kind of outrage from the White House. He was vilified by Karine Jean Pierre. I mean, she went all over news media bad-mouthing this guy, and progressive pundits for even reporting the truth. And so now she has this book out saying, oh, I was always with Biden and he was sharp as a tack. I don't know what you guys are talking about. We clearly saw differently. And she's getting eaten up by the press. She's getting, and she should be. Because we know that her father is Satan, and Satan is the father of lies. And she is lying out of her. She is lying like I wouldn't believe. And so she needs to be called out, and I'm glad she is.
Well, she was paid very well to lie.
No,
she was paid a hefty salary. That was her profession for 2.5 years. Says she was in charge, as press secretary. That was her job. So it's hard to turn away from the lies when you're in it so deep. And isn't Satan so good at that? You guys know when you tell a lie and you have to get bigger and bigger and bigger and so big that you don't know how to get back to the truth. And she needs to know that the truth will set her free, but she doesn't want that kind of freedom because she makes money as a liar. Right. And you don't have to like her and what he did. And frankly, I think he did a disservice to us because he should have gone further. He was being nice and he shouldn't have. He should have told people the truth. He should have said this man either has dementia or Parkinson's, something is wrong and the people need to know. So the fact that he softballed that is one thing, but in this clip, she's not going to apologize. She should have just said, no, I didn't apologize. But you see, she can't even just tell the truth there. She has to leave and go through a set of either lies or deception. So even if she's not lying, she has been so good at deceiving that she is a professional at it. And this just isn't just set for politicians. This is not just politics. This is a perversion. This is something that has happened to all of us. This is something that has infiltrated the churches, that has infiltrated our schools, that has infiltrated politics, and is in our media. It is a perversion of the truth in either omission, by not coming out and saying what's really happening, or in deception. And so we've come to this point where we accept it, and we even advocate for saying, well, they didn't really lie. Well, like Satan, did God really say not to eat of that fruit? Did he really? And this is what I see when I see this back and forth and how quickly she is to dodge. So again, her was bad, but she was awful, and she knows something is wrong. But again, there's too much money at stake. Too many people have been bought and sold, and we know Jill Biden is behind a lot of this.
Oh yeah.
Behind this. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Is clearly her on this book tour, and let's see what happens to her sales. They're probably gonna be about the same as Kamala Harris's.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, and she is dodging. She is dodging. Like she dodges her girlfriend when her period is on. Okay. She is dodging. And this is why this stuff matters, because this is more than a debate. It's more than a cognitive debate. It's a question of national integrity. A government built on lies can't stand. And Proverbs tells us, or I believe it's Proverbs 12, says the Lord detests lying lips, but he delights in people who are trustworthy. Okay. And this is all part of the communist plan to make to sow seeds of chaos, to make us distrust our systems, our institutions. And so America will fall. And if America wants restoration, it starts with the truth. We got to get these liars out of government, no matter how uncomfortable it is. And we must continue to call them out. We got to do it. So, folks, as you come in, please hit that like button And if you stand with us, if the lies are unraveling, if you believe that, and the truth, God's truth, is breaking through, join us, subscribe, because this is what we are all about. You know, Karine Jean Pierre, she's a mess. She really is. And you know what? But this is why we fight. It's not for a party. It's for the truth. It's for freedom and the soul of our nation. So please join us. Hit that like button and subscribe. All right. So final topic of the night, but it's actually one of my favorites because this may be a little controversial, but we got to talk about Ben Shapiro. So he was recently on a podcast with what's her name? Batia Ungar. And he brought up he for the first time, he said something in response to people like Megyn Kelly, Matt Walsh, and the rest of them, these conservatives with large platforms who continue to be friendly with people like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, and others. And basically, he said they can still be friendly with them, but vocalize their disagreements with morally corrupt arguments. So, you know, if they disagree with these people, they need to call them out anyhow, because their arguments are so outrageous that to just let them continue to push this type of rhetoric is dangerous. And I want to get you guys' thoughts on it. Take a look. This is clip 5.
The vice president is very close with somebody who has been attacking you quite relentlessly for a few years now, Tucker Carlson. Speaking of Nazi insignia, Carlson has repeatedly hosted a historian who engages in World War II revision that, in my opinion, aims to portray the Nazis in a less villainous light, shall we say. Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly both talk about feeling pressured to cut ties with Carlson. What's your take on the vice president's friendship with Tucker Carlson? Is it significant?
I mean, I'm not going to police friendships between people. I will say that, once again, I think that when people make what are clearly ugly arguments, or when they hide behind guests in order to make ugly arguments without ever asking a single difficult question, or when they continue to use their platforms in order to promote nonsense, then I do think that people of good heart could condemn that. And that has nothing to do with friendship. I think that, you know, we all have friends with whom we disagree and who we believe hold bad views. But if we're in the public sphere and we're speaking on public policy all the time and on ideas, then I'm not sure why that should grant some sort of blanket immunity to the criticism of the ideas. I mean, again, there are people in my company with whom I disagree, and we publicly will have those disagreements and air them. And Batia, you and I disagree on a number of things, and I'm sure at some point you've criticized my ideas. I'm sure I've criticized yours, and we're friendly. I mean, I don't really see why these two things are mutually exclusive. I think that there is a bit of a Mott and Bailey game that's going on, where people will refuse to condemn bad arguments, ugly arguments, morally specious arguments. And then when you say you're refusing to condemn those bad, morally specious arguments, and you really should, just because you're willing to express your opinion on everything, why not that? And then they retreat to the Bailey, which is, well, actually, you're just saying I don't want to be friends with you. I can't be friends. You can be friends with whomever you want. No one's saying that you can't have somebody over for dinner. What we are saying is it's kind of weirdly and oddly uncomfortable that you go silent on views when they are expressed by quote unquote friends, when that friend happens to be a public figure. Nobody's asking you to condemn your Uncle Jim for making a racist joke at the dinner table publicly. That's not what we're talking about here.
All right. So let's dig into this. I mean, as he said, people, you know, we can still be friends. You know, Megyn Kelly can still be friends with Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson. But to refuse to condemn their morally defunct arguments, that's an issue. And I want to ask you, Michelle, what do you think about this? And also, how is what they're doing any different than someone like Abigail Spanberger or failing to, you know, call out the Attorney General of Virginia for saying he thought it was okay to say the children of conservatives deserve to die. How is this any different?
Well, I think that for those who are actually politicians who are running for a public office, that's going to be different for me, because they're going to be in charge of applying the laws or signing laws that maybe, the legislative, their legislation creates. So for me, I have to know moral clarity. I have to see that you have moral clarity and that it aligns with what I believe when you're a politician. To the Spanberger comment, right? She should have been crystal clear that not only do I condemn it, but I will not support somebody who, in his right mind, that man was not in his wrong mind, in his right mind, made those comments. That just means he got caught and he is trying to backpedal. So now all of a sudden he wants to take it back. No, that to me, you take a stance, and it better be right, because you are claiming to be the best person to hold a political office that is going to represent a large population of people. So when it comes to politics, that's kind of where I stand. But for this, I think the waters are a little muddy, a little blurry, because we have set people again up on these pedestals. We've gotten followings of millions of people because they've come out maybe like us, like Christian conservative, just with clear, concise opinions that people are expecting. There's an expectation that I followed you, right? I thought we were on the same page, and then you went over here. You went so far to the other side. I don't think we're on the same page. Or I thought you and I agreed on all of these things, but your best friend is the total opposite. Are you going to call him out on being wrong? And that's what this clip kind of showed me. Are they going to call him out?
He said, and he said, he was like, look, I'm not saying we can't continue to be friends. I can't have you over for dinner, but the stuff you're saying publicly on your extremely large platform is evil. This crap that they have been saying is evil. And before we would go any further, I want to take a look at some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And friends in the chat, let us know what you think. Take a look at this next clip. This is clip 6.
For my decision to platform Tucker, too bad, too fucking bad. I love him. We're friends. I don't think he's an anti-Semite at all. Don't listen to all of Tucker's shows. I don't listen to all your shows. I don't have that many hours in the
broadcasting 17 hours a day.
Yeah, seriously. So I raise my kids.
Our shows are very anti-Semitic sometimes. I don't know. We have weak moments.
Yeah, that's you too.
But I don't really care. I think Tucker's a very important, valuable voice in the national conversation. I'm thrilled.
Do you think Candace? I think Candace is apart from Tucker.
I don't know her. I don't really know her that well. Although I will tell you, we recently had a very nice exchange before all this, and I was just reminded in my own head that Candace is a young mom of 3 young kids. She's under a lot of pressure. She's got a big show. She's been under attack since she came onto the public airwaves, and she's been under attack constantly. And it's my prerogative if I say to myself, that is not someone I wish to attack.
The master of the universe. And that's troubling, because this is a state that has a hexagram on their flag. Okay. They're even lying about the history of the Star of David. It's a hexagram. It's a cult. You can't just wipe that away. It's not even a long time ago. There's tons of books. It's showing you that that's a hexagram. What do you pretend? It's a cultic. You start looking into Aleister Crowley, who had the Star of David on his books, right? He was a committed occultist. He established a religion that believed in sex magic, talking about sexual deviancy and things of that nature. Aleister Crowley, the things that they believed in. Yeah, you're just already trying to wipe your shoe. Nope, that's not. That is a religious. No, it's a hexagram. Okay, we're not stupid. We're going to talk about all of that stuff. I could rant about the lies that nation has told. Not even that. The Star of David used to be the flag of Morocco. Okay, why? That's weird. It's not a Jewish state. Why? What was going on in Morocco? What was going on in Algeria and Tunisia and Morocco? Andre Gide. We'll get to all of that. Aleister Crowley. What were they doing there? Initiations. Why would they put their hexagram in those countries? Anyways, let me stop, because I'm going way too deep on this. And for those of you that don't know, somebody just gave money and said all roads lead to the occult. Yes, it is an occult nation. There's no question about that. Everything that they are involved in is occult. And that's why we have to sort of wake the world up to this very quickly, because they have a lot of power. And the only way that we are going to be able to fight this is by being willing to tell the truth. I would literally rather saw off my own foot than support Israel ever again, by the way. Never supporting that demonic nation ever again. That's like, I am so off that train. It's crazy. I've learned way too much. Like you delivered in every way that you are supposed to deliver by just going full mask down. You often hear this word inhumane, right? They don't dehumanize.
If you're intentionally killing civilians, you probably shouldn't beat your chest and brag about it. Maybe you can make. I agree with that. Maybe you make the case that we had to do it or whatever, but you should. I agree. You should weep, and that's evil, and you should just say it's evil. And I know it's really threatening to. Is it evil? Ben Shapiro to say that or whatever. But is it evil to kill civilians on purpose? Yeah, it is. I think it is. Really? Kids and children. Well, how is it not actually? In a war? Well, you can call it whatever you want. How is it right to kill women and children?
I didn't say, because I think there is a moral right behind you if you are literally...
To kill women and children?
If there's a world war that threatens if it threatens the entire world, yes.
Some people killed your kids, like your 8-year-old?
Like, well, how is that
morally justifiable?
Well, because actually you have to... Well, by your criteria...
It's disgusting.
Okay, so no war is morally justified.
I mean, I think it's pretty hard to justify... I mean, yeah, I'm
Any
sure...
war.
Okay. Let's get into this because this stuff matters, folks. And before we do, I want to thank you all for your super chats. All right, we got some super chatters here. Let's see. All right, we have Crystal P with the $5 super chat. Says torn, living in NYC and feeling pressure to vote for Cuomo instead of Curtis because the Raleigh Stadium for Mamdani tonight was sold out. Wow. Polls can be flawed too. Ugh, I don't think so. I mean, all the polls are showing he's way ahead. I say a prayer about it, Crystal. Pray on and ask God to lead you towards his will. Yeah, honestly, I don't know if I should say this, but I don't think it matters really at this point. Yeah, either way, I think he's going to win. Michelle, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I'm going to have to go. If this was just a 2-person race, then I would have thrown everything I had into the only person running against Mamdani. And the reality is Curtis was the best candidate policy-wise, but we know that, policy up against demonic entities is not winning out. And I'm not sure what could be done. Definitely pray about it. I loved Curtis as a candidate. Cuomo, it's like we're picking between the lesser of evils, and evil is evil. Unfortunately, I think this might be a dark period in time for New York. But I'm going to say thank you. Thank you, Crystal, for voting in the first place. And that's the problem. That if more people were voting, if Republicans were out there voting and people that were just voting on policy, Curtis Sliwa would be the one winning this race. Right. Or, somebody else. It just is unfortunate. Not a lot of people are voting. So I just appreciate you being in that race.
Yeah.
Ronnie, just vote.
Crystal says again, the problem is people know little about Islam. Yep. Yeah, but why? Because there are conservative pundits on our side, people on our side of the political aisle that are not talking about it. You got Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens rallying against Israel and everybody else when the number one persecutor of Christians in the world is radical Islam. Okay, and this is what we're talking about. This is what we are talking about. We started off that clip with Megyn Kelly talking about how, I can't talk. I just won't talk about Candace because she's a new mother of 4 children and she's been under attack. Okay, well, where is that reasoning when you were talking about Blake Lively when she was pregnant? Meghan Markle, who had just had a baby, and all these other women that you slam every other day. She has no qualms talking about them. Okay, and I'm a huge fan of Megyn Kelly. I've been a huge fan of hers, but I've kind of slowed off because her reasoning there was just bizarre to me. It was bizarre. Okay. And then Tucker Carlson, what did you think about what he said there about war?
Well, I mean, he's wrong. I can't say how he's just beyond wrong. And he actually, demonstrates how many wars he's ever fought in net zero. And seeing the results of war is always going to be ugly. Seeing war is going to be ugly. And yes, women and children are going to die in war. Innocent people die in war all the time. That's why President Trump is doing what he can to stop all of the world's wars. I mean, this president has done tremendous things. So, Tucker, you're wrong. And that's where I think that this is the issue. You can say you're wrong or say, I just don't agree with you, or say you don't even have to tell it to your friend. What I don't like is that I don't need anybody to just be full on canceled. I would love for some of them to just walk off into the sunset, but I am a constitutionalist and I believe in the First Amendment, right? I believe in freedom of speech. I believe in freedom of stupidity. But when you are so stupid, like Mamdani, I don't think you should be voted into office. That's neither here nor there. In this particular clip, though, why not just say, hey, this is my friend and I don't agree with what he said, and then explain X, Y, Z. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with that. And I think they're dead wrong on this issue. That's my friend, though. I love them. I'm going to be with them, pray for them, but we don't agree. That's all I expect out of these people that have huge platforms, because we said this before with Candace. We're not always going after and attacking her. We're saying, where is this? Who is coming and telling the truth? We're looking for people just to say, this is wrong. She is not right. You saw those clips and we went over those. Those were like in July. Those were in the summertime when she made those clips. And it was just ranting and raving. And she's become so anti-Semitic. It's hard to justify anything she says at this point. But where's the pushback? Where's anybody questioning it? And when you have such a huge platform and you're like tiptoeing around it, I'm going to question you. Unfortunately, I'm going to question why. And you can be a good friend and still say, my good friend was wrong. I can say my mom was wrong. I can say my sister is wrong. We don't agree at all. We are polar opposites when it comes to life in the womb. We just do not agree. And I think she's wrong.
Right. And then on the Tucker Carlson clip, first of all, are we in agreement that Israel was actually targeting children and women? We know that Hamas used children, women, and things like that as shields, they would hide behind them, hospitals and everything. So Israel would have a hard time, bombing them and things like that. But I don't know about anything. I haven't read anything saying Israel actually targeted women and children in this war. On the contrary, they sent out leaflets telling people to get out. We're about to do this. We're about to do that. This is the whole reason why this thing took so long. If they wanted to, they could have just bombed the whole place and said, this is it. We're done. We're over. But no, they had to go through this warfare through these tunnels, these underground tunnels, and all this type of stuff, because they were trying to have as little casualties as possible. So I disagree with what he said there.
Oh, I absolutely disagree. You're right, KJ. And Officer Tatum called him out on that. And you made the point about, where is he getting this? That was Hamas propaganda. We have had months of free Palestine propaganda and leaflets lying to the public because they are using Hamas statistics and Hamas Al Jazeera TV telling people how many have died, getting false numbers. So they have gotten that information. It's lies and propaganda.
Yeah. Kung Fu CJ with the $2 super chat says, KJ, America did the same thing in Japan. Right. Hiroshima. And this isn't something that I'm not okay with that. It's tough. It is very tough. It's sad, but war is ugly. It's ugly. And I think that, we need to try in all situations for peace. That is always the first step, peace. You're trying to push for peace. But if you can't, then I want to protect our country, our people, and the generations ahead. And honestly, if something like October 7th happened here in America, if innocent people were at a concert, an outdoor concert like we have all the time, we have numerous concerts, festivals in the summer. If that happened and terrorists came in and just started killing and assaulting, sexually assaulting. I mean, goodness gracious, the video was awful. It was horrifying. I think a retaliation is justified. And it's not just the Bible says this.
I would have gone and blown up everybody. I'm just going to be honest that what Israel did, they were targeting. They were very specific in their targets, but to the extent that they avoided a lot of casualties. Because if they had done what we would have done, we would have gone in and beyond eye for an eye, we would have taken out it would have been a clean sweep. President Trump has said that. He said that multiple times. That's why I said Officer Tatum had done an argument about, hey, when he spoke out against what Candace and Tucker, everybody was coming out. He's like, no, if you did this to my daughters and I watched this and you videotaped it and you played it, I would have come in and not just killed the men. I would have destroyed everybody. Like Israel had the right to destroy everybody. That was beyond their 9/11. And instead, they were looking to these international people we were supposed to be the allies, and we were not. In that moment, we told them to hold back. We told them to stop. We told them, wait a second. And we were still telling them, well, wait, we'll hold off. And then we allowed this vicious viper to set in with this free Palestine. Hamas is the innocent nonsense that Mamdani himself is pushing. Mm-hmm. And that is what makes me upset about big, high-profile people not correcting their friends and saying, no, you're wrong for that. No, you're wrong. We don't agree on this in any way, shape, or form. Still love you. Like we said, love you like a brother, love you like a sister, love you like the Lord. But we are not going to agree.
Right. And the Bible calls us to do it. The Bible calls us to do it. When you hear someone who is pushing lies, misinformation, you are to speak out against it in love, like you said. But to stay silent and then to say something, she's a new mom and she's under attack. Believe me, Candace Owens looks like she can take care of herself. Okay, she's no dainty damsel in distress. Okay, and believe me, Megyn Kelly has went after others that were far more innocent. And she just ripped them, okay? I mean, she ripped these women. So I honestly believe that some of these pundits are afraid of losing their audience.
Oh,
okay?
I agree.
And that is behind this all of a sudden. I can't talk about my friends. It's dollar signs.
Yeah. I won't talk about my friends to the calculator in the background. Well, maybe I'll say this. Right. Christian conservative, we're just going to say what we say, because you know what, ultimately, and what should be, is that we know where cometh our help. Our help comes from the Lord. I mean, we appreciate all of our chatters and our super chatters and all of our likes, and we ask you to share videos and content like this, because there should be more Christian conservatives speaking out. And the reason is so that when people with, larger platforms or higher profiles, from presidents to just podcasters to whatever, we can say, no, that is not the example of Christ. That is not how we should be living our lives. That is not what I want my children to look up to. That is just not the truth.
Right, Michelle? And the Bible calls us to do it. Mm-hmm. Ephesians 5:11 have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. God doesn't call us to coexist with evil. He calls us to confront it, folks. And silence in the face of evil is sin. It is. Silence when others are oppressed or when evil prevails is moral cowardice. Again, Isaiah 5:20, woe to those who call evil good and good evil. When we refuse to speak truth, we allow this inversion of morality to thrive. And scripture says, woe to that generation. Every time Candace Owens goes on, look what she's doing. The good Lord, she's doing to Charlie Kirk's family and TPUSA. She's out here just trashing his legacy. She's out here just, she every week she's talking about, first she said it was the Jews, Israel was behind it. Then she said it was Trump. Then she said it was TPUSA. There was some big betrayal she implied. This is terrible. What do you think is going to happen to a jury pool? She has a large audience. She's out here pushing these conspiracy theories and lies. We cannot let that stand. We cannot. I don't care if you're a friend, family, you preface it. Hey, I love her. She comes over here every Sunday for dinners. That's my sister. But what she is saying is wrong. And I will not let it prevail. I will not let it go out in the airwaves without pushing back against it with my platform. This is what we're called to do. You can't let that stand. We cannot. And if you, maybe you don't want to call, say why that what she's doing is wrong. Come back with the truth. Say, okay, she said this. This is why that's not true.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, KJ. I like this. You don't have to be confrontational to speak truth.
Right.
You don't. And many of us understand that. And that's, KJ, you're on a roll with that one. I completely agree. No disagreement here. We're not telling her just to disown anybody or disown her. We're just saying with what you have, with as many things as we've seen, we want consistency from who we look up to. And that's the reason why I kind of just stopped with Candace Owens. I'm like, no, I wanted consistency. And especially if you professed Christianity, where's your faith walk? where are you walking? I should be able to see and understand that everything you're saying is coming through Christ, right? Are you Holy Spirit minded? Are you biblically minded? I want to hear that. I don't know about Megan. I don't know exactly how far she goes in her faith. But just to be consistent, you're right, KJ. She's gone after a lot of people for a lot of things. Just make it plain. This is my friend. I disagree. This is why. It could just be a counter that I don't think this is happening, but we're not seeing that. And unfortunately, we're never going to see it from the left against their people. So it's an issue, but we need to start being honest with ourselves. And we've said that from here, not just politicians, not just podcasters. We've said it that people from the pulpit need to be telling the truth. So we're calling everything. We call a spade here on Christian Conservative.
Yeah, folks. And I know it's hard. I do. I know it's hard. I've been in situations where I'm like, oh, should I say something? I don't know if I should do this. And I pray for us, you and I, Michelle, for all of our sisters and brothers who are podcasting, who are influencers, who are called by God to do this, that God continues to give us boldness, the boldness of David facing Goliath, the conviction of Daniel in the lion's den, and the unshakable faith of Esther, who said, if I perish, folks, because we're the last line. And when the world pressures us to compromise, remind us that truth is not negotiable. Help us speak it in love, in respect, but never in silence. Never silence. Never in fear, because fear is of the enemy. So that does it for us tonight, folks. We will be back on Thursday night at 9 p.m. Michelle, final thoughts for us before we close out.
Well, I know Kung Fu CJ had a $2 super chat. Michelle, where can you find me? And for the congressional races, we kick things back off. It's talkington4congress.com. So you can find me there, Talkington for Congress. I'll put it on the screen in the future. And it's always, I love that. It's never just about my campaign. It's really more about the gospel. It's more about getting out the message of conservatives, the message about us being in the greatest nation, which has the most amazing constitution. And I'm just kind of here to fight for truth, which is what we're saying right now, KJ, is don't be afraid to stand up for the truth. And you don't have to say it in an attack. You can say it with agape love. You can, any way that works for you, just make sure it is the truth, because what we saw in all these clips today is how easy it is to lie and to smile and to evade. And look how big it gets. So we have to be the truth seekers, right? We have to be the truth speakers. That is our job, is to walk in the light. We are to be the light. We are the salt of this earth. Continue to be that this week, especially this week.
All right, folks, that does it for us tonight. Thank you so much, folks. Thank you for all of your super chats, for your likes. As you all come in, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. We're here to stand on truth, speak life, and fight for faith, family, in this country. Until next time, keep your eyes on Christ, your heart rooted in truth, and your voice unshaken. God bless.